People, what's happening? Welcome back to the channel and welcome to another live stream. And what a week it's been for Chelsea. 3 games, 3 wins. Back-to-back 3-0 wins today, with following up Tuesday nights even, 3-0 win against Milan, with another 3-0 win against Wolves in the Premier League. 7 changes from Graham Potter, but no problem at all for the Blues as we brush aside Wolves 3-0. And really a perfect afternoon. Broja getting his first goal, a debut for Chukwuemeka. And Havertz on the score sheet as well, plus 2 open play assists from Mason Mount. I mean, you could almost say that Potter's got the magic touch. I mean, it was pretty much a perfect afternoon today, Oli. I mean, we were discussing before we come on, mate, that when the lineup came out, we're a little bit sceptical. I mean, what were your thoughts on it? Because 7 changes, whilst we expected them with Milan on Tuesday night in the San Siro being a massive game for our qualification hopes in the Champions League, 7 changes is bold, isn't it?
It's really interesting because I was a bit nervous when the lineup came out as well initially. Especially when you're seeing the likes of and not to say anything against him personally, but someone like Azpilicueta or Pulisic, someone like that, where you sort of look at them at the moment in the current setup of the team and you go, really, but Potter 100% proved us all wrong, as did many of the players today. It's worth saying everyone put a shift in. Everyone did really, really well and took their chances. And I think it probably stems a little bit to Potter's style of management in a way, that he can still motivate the players, even when they're changing so rapidly. And I think he's probably using that sort of degree he's got in emotional intelligence or whatever it is to actually, to say, listen, you're going to have to sit out, but you're playing in the Champions League most of the time. You guys are going to come in, right? But you're not playing in the Champions League, but you're playing in the Premier League, this week. So you're going to get a good opportunity. You're going to get minutes. You're going to get minutes. And I think it's the right way to go about it. And it seems to have galvanized the squad. It really has. And so I'm very pleased with Potter's approach so far.
I mean, how much of this do you put down to a new manager bounce? Because obviously, I'm not discrediting the work Graham Potter's done. I think what he's done in the month, just over the month that he's been here, has been fantastic. I don't really think he's done a single thing wrong, in all honesty. But how much of this do you think is a reaction from the players? We see it constantly when new managers come in, not just at Chelsea, but other football clubs as well. You get a bit of a reaction sort of for the first 3, 4, 5 games. And then after that, you kind of find out where you're at sort of thing. I don't want to put a downer on things, but how much of that do you think is that new manager bounce, players reacting to new ideas, a fresh start for everyone? And how much do you think of it's actually down to the good work that Potter's done? Because I think there's probably a little bit of both aspects in play here.
Yeah, I think it is a little bit of both. I think you can't underestimate how effective a new manager bounce can be, and it's not necessarily a bad thing if you as long as you don't look at it in isolation. So, the way I see it is, you see a lot of these players from last season or the start of even this season, is we get like a pretty decent result at one point. We beat someone with 1-0, 2-0, something like that, and we'd all go, right, this is the moment. This is the time for everybody to, to properly galvanize the squad. We've taken a good win here. Now we can kick on. And in the next game, we'd struggle. And then the game after that, we might struggle. And then the game after that, we might play well again. And so what this new manager bounce, you could argue, is instilling a little bit of that winning consistency into the team early on, which is going to be hugely valuable for the squad. It's just... It seems to be to me that, yeah, some of it's definitely a new manager bounce, but there's a certain effect that it's must, like Potter coming in, Potter and everything he does. And actually, the games we've played already have had like a profound effect on some of the players at the very least. You'd never have seen, I don't know, there's probably 3, 4, 5 players that I saw play today that it's the best I've seen them play in ages,
Yeah.
And to a certain degree, yeah, maybe that's a new manager bounce, but I can't lie. I don't think it's all down to that.
No, I don't think it is either. I mean, just bringing this stat up on the screen now, I don't know what the previous stats were, but it probably wasn't as good as this. But Chelsea have racked up 54 shots in the 4 games under Graham Potter, with 44 of those coming inside the box. Now, from what you've seen so far of Potter and how it's working out at Chelsea, what have you noticed any sort of differences kind of with how the team's playing? Because for me, I know the attack's not been great. It's been a big problem at Chelsea for a while, but I actually think the attack has been pretty decent in most of the games that he's had so far. I mean, what do you think he's done to slightly change it? Because it looks like he's getting a bit more out of this crop of attackers than perhaps Thomas Tuchel was before the end of his reign.
Yeah, it seems like it seems like Potter's come in and slightly tweaked things, and it's really benefited. To a certain degree, the changes he's made are quite wholesale. We're playing at a much faster tempo. We're not holding the ball as much and recycling possession uselessly. We're playing a lot more direct, with key passes and looking to split the lines. Whereas before, especially under Tuchel and especially towards the end, it felt like there was a need to recycle and keep the ball no matter what, because Tuchel's team is a possession based team. I'm not saying we're not under Potter, but I'm saying there seems to be more of that inclination for players to take risks and and make something of themselves, in the game, which I think maybe they were a little bit scared to do under Tuchel, based on the way that he managed his team. So it seems that there are some real, what on the surface could see slightly minor tweaks, but actually they've made quite a profound effect.
Yeah, no, I totally agree, because on the surface of it, as you say, you look at the way that Potter sets the team. Like, all right, we were back four against Palace, but the three we saw against Milan, three or four, whatever we saw today, it's nothing too dissimilar to what Thomas Tuchel was doing. But I think the instructions that each individual player is getting, the roles are perhaps slightly different, and I think the players seem to be responding better to it. I mean, obviously, Thomas Tuchel's kind of been and gone now, but it was obvious that things were pretty bad in that dressing room towards the end, and no players are responding well. We weren't playing well, and I think the new opportunity for everyone, slightly different ideas, and a lot of players are relishing the task. So it's definitely a plus. And I thought today the attack looked a lot more fluid. I thought Christian Pulisic had a good game today.
He did.
Mason Mount had a good game as well.
Yeah, his best game in ages.
His best game in ages. Two good performances from Mason Mount. And it's been a really, really good week for Chelsea. 3 games in the last 7 days, 3 wins. Back-to-back clean sheets as well, having had no clean sheets since the first day of the season away at Everton. It's all big positives. But one thing I just wanted to hone in on before we go into the match in a bit more detail was something about the presence of academy graduates in the side and the squad at the moment. Potter was saying here, let me just bring it up now, on the importance of an academy core in the squad. They're vital. They bring an understanding of the club, of the culture of the club it demands, and what is required in terms of environment. They've come through a fantastic education in the academy. They're good people and good footballers. Our job is to help them maximise their potential, which is really exciting. Now, for a long time, we've seen under Roman Abramovich, we've spent so much money on the academy, and yet for years and years and years, we'd win so many youth cups, UEFA youth leagues, and yet we'd never see anyone come into the first team. No one really since John Terry. But now you look at the squad, and you look at the core starting players. We've got Reece James, Mason Mount, Conor Gallagher, Loftus-Cheek, Broja, Chalobah. Like, this is 6. That's 6 names just there that are starting or are in the match day squad. I mean, how important to you is that, the sort of the importance of having an academy core like Potter refers to there? And how pleased are you to see it? For me personally, I'm delighted because, as I said, we've spent so much money on the academy, and it's finally good to now see it coming good, and we're kind of reaping the rewards of it.
Yeah, I think it's nice to have some slightly more mature now, fleshed out academy players in the squad, especially because they can provide a little bit of an understanding for other players, who are in the youth setup as how there is a pathway into the first team, which is really important, and obviously something that Bowley and co have been trying to push more, especially with the signings that we've been making, sort of the youth signings. I think Cassidy is a good example of that, and Chukwuemeka to a certain degree.
Yeah.
So it's really interesting, and it's also really important that we do this because, to have that sort of understanding innately of the club, it doesn't have to come from academy graduates, but to a certain degree, you have to have a certain culture. You probably have to have been at the club for a little while. And so that's why academy graduates are usually the best option, because most of them understand the club, they get the club. They've been here through the highs and lows of everything, because the majority of them, even, like Broja scored today, he's been at the club since he was 8 years old. A lot of the other academy players are the same. So, having them in the squad, I have a feeling that Potter is going to build a spine in this team, and the spine is probably going to come from Cobham players. And that would be my view. The likes of Mount, James, Chalobah, possibly Broja. Really building that spine for time to come.
Yeah, no, I think so. I think it's the right way. It's a good way to go because at the end of the day, we produce good players, so we may as well use them, and it's going to save us an absolute fortune in the transfer market as well. So it can only be a positive for sure. And I think yes, you can get other players that understand the value of the club and whatnot, but no one quite understands what it means to play for Chelsea and like how special it is and how important it is than players that have been there from a young age, come through the ranks and are finally getting their first team opportunity. It's going to mean a lot more to them than it will to kind of guys that are coming in from other clubs. Not saying that it doesn't mean a lot to them, but they would just get it that little bit more. And I think it's important that you've got players in there that understand the club, understand the ethos, understand the roots, understand, the privilege that it is to play for Chelsea, because I don't think people always think that.
More than that as well, it's like it's also understanding sort of like a little bit like the hierarchy and the social
Yeah.
hierarchy as well. You don't want a player who's going to come in, someone like Lukaku, and is going to upset the apple cart and upset the dressing room. So having players who are mature for their ages, but have been at the club a long time, can actually, like I keep seeing with Reece James, like Reece James has welcomed Aubameyang and Sterling into the squad, two players who are ostensibly probably more leaders and older than James is, and yet James is the one acting like a leader there.
Yeah.
So when you look at it that way, like you've got to look at the hierarchy, the sort of the social hierarchy among the players as well, because and having someone like bringing in someone like Sterling and Aubameyang, it seems like, and we were talking about this before the game, it seems like we're developing like a good vibes feel around the
Yeah.
club at the moment, and that really is valuable. There was a real sort of quite toxic atmosphere, especially at the end of Tuchel's reign. So it's nice to see things being turned around, and it's also probably quite vindicating for Bowley and Co as well that they made the right choice.
Yeah, no, mate, I totally agree. And you know what? It's also a massive credit to Roman as well for
Mm.
picking these guys. I mean, mate, could you imagine where they'd be now if it was the Ricketts in charge?
Oh, it'd be a nightmare.
It would
We're
be an
so
absolute
lucky that
nightmare.
it was all set up with with the rain group and everything.
Yeah,
Say what you like about their transparency and things like that, but they did an excellent job in probably finding the best possible person to actually take over. So and if you're looking at the projects that the club wants to work on now, building from the academy, buying young talent, got an exciting young manager, playing an attractive style of football. Like, what more could you possibly
I
want? If
mean,
it were the Ricketts, you don't see us getting any of that. You
I
see us
mean,
turning into a United.
we've got all the ingredients for this to work out. I know it's not as simple as that, but all the ingredients are in place. We've now just got to do it and put it into action. Let me just quickly bring this up on the screen. Do you guys think that our new technical director's bad ending with RB Leipzig could interfere with our transfer dealings for Nkunku? No, I don't think so. Just briefly on that, mate. I mean, I don't really know too much about him. I don't expect you to know too much, but how pleased you to see that we've now pushed on and we've appointed a technical director. And that really does help us out. The position that needs to be filled, someone that knows a multi-club model, which is what Chelsea want to go down. And I could imagine he's been pretty pivotal in the deals actually to bring Nkunku to Stamford Bridge, and obviously taking Werner away from the bridge, and also potentially bringing Gavardio to the bridge as well. So this guy's probably already had a lot of interaction with Chelsea and with Bowley. So I mean, for someone that knows the multi-club model inside out, Red Bull do it the best. This is a good appointment. Makes sense.
Yeah, if you can't beat the best, be the best, right?
Yeah.
So to say, for a lack of a better phrase, if you can't beat them, join them, right? So in terms of the multi-club model, you're probably not going to find someone better or someone who knows the concept of a multi-club model better than someone from the RB Leipzig group,
Yeah.
or the Red Bull group generally. Doesn't have to be Leipzig, could be Salzburg as well. So I think Christopher Vivell, it appears on paper like it's a very solid appointment. It's important to remember that he's coming in as a technical director, so essentially Petr Cech's old job, not a sporting director.
No.
So that's going to be a slightly separate thing, because at first it's quite easy to confuse the two. A sporting director is a technical director is looking more at sort of strategy for the club going forward, whereas sporting director is more about what's going on the pitch. So it's a slightly different sort of roles, but either way, both very important to get. But what is nice is that'll take a little bit of the pressure off Bowley, because he's been doing a lot of that work already.
Yeah.
you know. And just to answer YTVO1's question, no, I don't think it will be a problem with bringing in Nkunku, specifically because, one, it seems like his medical is already done to come to Chelsea. I know technically the clubs have to come to an agreement, but Leipzig won't want an unhappy player on their books. Not to mention we're most likely going to be paying over the odds instead of paying the release clause for him, which they won't get from another club, most likely. So it, and especially not this early. So it seems like it shouldn't put Nkunku in any peril.
No, definitely not. I mean, back to the game itself, mate. I thought we started really well. I mean, it was a frustrating first half. I know we got the goal from Kai Havertz at the end, but it was a frustrating first half. You know, we actually played really well. We looked really good going forwards. Wolves didn't have too many opportunities. They had the one free kick that Kepa saved well. But other than that, they didn't really create an awful lot. They did look quite dangerous on the break. Adama Traore causing a few problems. Diego Costa back at Stamford Bridge had a couple of
headers. That was beautiful, wasn't it?
To see just whilst we're on that, mate, how pleased were you with the not that he was going to get a bad reception, but how pleased were you with the reception that he got from the fans before the game, and then obviously when he was subbed off afterwards as well? I think, you know, because we never got to say goodbye to him really because of how things ended under Conte with you know, the infamous text message, "Don't bother coming back for pre-season." I mean, we never saw him again. And at the end of the day, this guy was the last good centre forward we had. He fired us to our last 2 Premier League titles, and we never got to say goodbye to him. So I was absolutely delighted to see the reception that he got today.
He got an excellent reception, and you know what, absolutely class from everyone at Stamford Bridge. You know, really giving him a welcome home to Diego, because the way it ended with him, it kind of, I don't feel like a lot of the fans got much closure on that, but I feel like now he has.
Yeah, I mean,
you know, and we have as well, and we can sort of close the chapter on that now.
Yeah,
you know, I mean, and it was just so nice to see it. You know, the whole stadium. You know, I was watching it, so I wasn't there. I know you were, but it seemed like the whole stadium was ringing out. You know, with cheers for him. It was beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, when he got subbed off, he obviously, it was down kind of behind, like, but obviously the end that Wolves were attacking, but he went off at the side and he walked round and he clapped the whole fans and he was getting applauded the whole way round on his way back to the bench. So it's things that you love to see. And he was actually speaking after the game to a Brazilian correspondent for ESPN. He was just basically saying, "I've never had a problem with the fans. I left in bad terms with that manager." So obviously Conte. I left the champion for the second time, and he didn't count on me. That was nothing I could do. I had to leave. Today showed that I did not leave on bad terms with the fans. I think that was, and he goes on to say on the fans clapping, "It's a very special. It's the feeling that the time that you spent here, you did good work and left good memories. Chelsea fans always treated me very well. I was always surprised by the way that they treated me. It's satisfying." So yeah, you know, it was great to see him, and I am absolutely delighted for him. And I'm also very much looking forward to when Wolves play Spurs and we see the Costa Conte reunion potentially whenever
stare down in the tunnel will be lovely.
Yeah, whenever that fixture takes place. But yeah, no, as I say, fantastic to see. And Diego Costa, what a guy, and thoroughly deserved. But I mean,
absolutely.
To say, Oli, Wolves didn't create an awful lot. As I said, they were looking dangerous on the breakthrough. Adama, Costa had a couple of headers. But we were creating so many opportunities. I mean, I was in the stadium. I'm sure you watching at home as well. You're thinking, it's not going to be another one of those days, is it? Where, you know, you create so many opportunities and then just like chance after chance just doesn't go in. What did you make of the first half? Because I thought we did really well, created a lot of opportunities, but once again, the finishing was letting us down.
Do you know what? Again, you can sort of almost harken it back to Potter's kind of managerial style. Is, you know, you go in 1-0 up like that. You after trying for the whole half, you know, could have been 2-3-4 if we were a bit luckier. And you go into the half, and some of the players will be feeling, you know, like a little bit relieved that it is 1-0 and they haven't squandered anything. And some of them will be thinking, "Oh my God, I wish, you know, we could be up by 2 or 3. You know, we really need to be pushing on here." And Potter will have gone out to them at halftime and said, "Don't panic, keep doing what you're doing. You're doing a really good job. The goals will come," and they did. And he was vindicated for that. So it really, you know, there are so many games that you can recall, I'm sure, under Tuchel, where we'd go in at halftime after a half a bit like that. Maybe we hadn't scored instead of we had, and it was so hard to break the opposition down in the second half. What we actually did was we actually improved. We kicked on and scored 2 more goals. You know, that properly killing a game and putting it to bed back to back in games like this is something that hasn't happened in so long at Chelsea, and so it's just feel good vibes all round. It really is.
Yeah, I mean, it is. We get the goal through Kai Havertz, a great header. I mean, how important do you think that goal is for his confidence? Only his second goal in his last 11 games now. It's 2 in the last 11. It's not a great record, but I mean, he scored the goal today, and that's what you want. But I felt, I mean, obviously we'll get into it in a bit more detail in the player ratings, but I felt despite the goal today, I didn't think his performance was that great either. I mean, I know goals.
I don't think it was amazing.
No.
Yeah, I don't think it's amazing, but at the same time, if you score, can you really complain? You know, it's one of those where you go, well, he played fine, right? Like he didn't do anything super extraordinary or special. He was fine. That was kind of it. You know, there wasn't really much more to it, except for the fact that he got a crucial goal at a crucial time, which seems to be Havertz's specialty in a way, where, you know, you see where he doesn't really appear to do this or that, and you're not entirely sure necessarily what he does or where he should play or how good he is, but he'll always pop up at an important moment with an important goal. And you know what? If we go in at halftime 0-0, maybe we kick on, maybe we don't. It's a different game. It really is, because it forces Wolves to come out and attack us in the second half, which obviously opened them up and allowed us to sort of score on the counter a bit. So, you know, as much as you can say Havertz didn't have the best game, it's kind of like, well, so. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. I mean, to be honest, ultimately it doesn't really matter because we won. But yeah, it's interesting. It is such fine margins in sport, in football, that, you know, if we go into that game 0-0 at half time, the second half could be a totally different situation.
Well, there was you know, even individual moments in the match. Like I don't know if you remember this or how well you could see it from where you were sat, but Cucurella made a really important block in the box in the second half, and I think it was only one. I think it was only 1-0 at the time, or even if it was 2-0. If that goes in, different game again. You know, then suddenly we're behind the. You know, we're going to get really pressed and we're behind the cosh, and it's a different game entirely. So it seems like the players are willing to work a little bit harder than they have done the last few months, and that's really encouraging.
I would totally agree. I mean, Texas Blue saying here, Kai and Pulisic before the goals are frustrating. Pulisic was frustrating in that, particularly in that first half. I know he got his goal and he took it well, and it was a good overall performance from him. But it was frustrating. The finishing was poor in the first half. Decision making at certain points was not there. Perhaps touch letting him down, taking one too many touches. But it's not just him. It can be I could say the same for Raheem Sterling against Milan and against Crystal Palace as well. Not bad performances, but just doing little things that are frustrating, not releasing the ball quickly enough, taking too many touches, and that can be frustrating. It really can be. But I mean,
yeah, and that's the thing. You know, it's a difficult one, isn't it? Because you look at someone like Pulisic, and obviously, because he's not had an extended run of games for however long, he's going to have rust. You know, he's not. You know, by the very nature of the way Tuchel's set up, a lot of the time, with constant sort of tinkering in and out of the squad. Even if you were on a good run, you might get hooked and not play for the next 6-7 games. And so, you know, how is anyone supposed to build any momentum like that? Hopefully, today is the start of Pulisic sort of getting back to his best. And I've been very critical of him in the past for what he's done and the way he's handled himself and his attitude. But today showed what he can do if he just puts his head down and lets his feet do the talking. You know,
I think
instead, it's so important.
It's important as well, though, that it's so hard to come in, play a good game today, and then maybe find yourself on the bench for the next 2 games. It's quite hard to build up any sort of consistency.
Exactly.
You'd expect now that, you know, Pulisic is probably going to be on the bench against Milan. Sterling will come back in. Mount will keep his place. Gallagher,
but that's largely due to rotation of the squad.
That's due to rotation of the squad. But it is quite. But I do sort of feel for him a little bit, where it is hard to kind of bed yourself into the team, get any sort of consistency in your level of performance when 1 week you're in, the next week you're not even coming off the bench, and then you might get 10 minutes the following week, and then you might be back in the lineup for a cup game or whatever. It is hard, but you've got to take the most of your opportunities. I felt he made the most of his opportunity today.
He took Thierry Henry's advice. Henry said recently, when his book came out and things like that, and he was talking about Tuchel and all the rest of it, Henry specifically said he needs to stop blaming other people. He needs to stop, you know, trying to blame other people for what's going on. Take the ball by the horns, and just do it yourself, because nobody is going to help you. And hopefully this is the start of that, where he's decided, you know what, I'm done sort of bitching and moaning. I'm actually going to I'm just going to work really hard, get in the team on merit, play well, score goals, and people will see my value.
Yeah, and that's all you can do as a player. Just work hard, get your head down, and just let do your talking on the pitch. And if you consistently play well, then the manager will pick you, and you'll get your opportunities. And I think that's just what Pulisic's got to do. Again, it remains to be seen what his future is going to be like. But he took his goal well.
Yeah, and he's the first step to that he took today, because he had a very good game today.
Yeah, he had a good game today, and he got a good reception from the fans when he came off, because he put in a good shift, and rightly
And that's
so.
what we want to see. You know, we don't want to see someone who goes down the tunnel at the end of the game without clapping the fans. We don't want to see your dad posting on Twitter or whatever. Just get your head down and play your football. And when you score a goal, we'll cheer. That's it.
It's as simple as that. You just work hard and put a shift in. You know, that's all you need to do. And you know, it was great today. It really wasn't. I mean, it's been the best week in kind of for Chelsea in a long time. And you know,
months and
months. You know, there's a real feel good factor around the club. And I think, you know, the fact today as well that obviously no Thiago Silva, he was missing. Potter was saying that he played with a heavy cold. Against Milan, which is why he was rested today. So we got through with no Silva. We didn't have to use Raheem Sterling from the bench. Reece James played about 15 minutes. Ben Chilwell fully rested.
Mm-hmm.
You know, this and Kovacic getting a rest as well. These are all massive pluses. I mean, how important is that as well? Not just the fact that we won today with the changes, but the fact that going into Milan on Tuesday as well, we haven't had to really call upon any of the key players in this game.
It is really important, because the game was sort of done and dusted by the time we brought the majority of our substitutes on, which is really important. You know, you keep a few legs fresh, and you make sure people get vital minutes, and then after that, you know, you can make sure everyone who needs rest gets it. So, you know, bringing on someone like Kovacic is good for his legs. Bringing on someone like James is good for his legs. Bringing on someone like Chilwell, maybe not so much, because he's just come back from an injury, so he was rested. You know, it makes sense to do it in this way, and so it seems, I don't know, it seems to me like Potter's got his head screwed on properly. I was a little bit hesitant about Potter at first, and I think I think everyone kind of had the right to be, because you know, we relatively unproven in terms of trophies. Obviously plays an attractive style of football. Would it translate to the big egos? You know, all of those questions we were talking about a month ago or so. And it seems to have worked. And so I'm fully on board with Potter now, because I think what he's doing with the squad is nothing short of transformative.
You know, it certainly is. I mean, obviously, a perfect afternoon capped off with Armando Broja coming off the bench and getting his first goal for the club. Just how important do you think that is for him as well? Because it's been difficult. He's had not too many opportunities this season. A couple of options from the bench. He's come on, and it's not been great for him. But he comes on today and he gets his first goal at Stamford Bridge and first goal for the club as well. I mean, how important is that for him? Because he's signed a new 6-year deal. He's obviously thought of as having a big future at the club. I mean, how big a part do you think he can play this season as well, particularly with kind of an aging Aubameyang as well? He's not going to play every game. Broja's got a big role to play this season, and getting his first goal will only do his confidence the world of good, and hopefully he can push on from it.
Yeah, absolutely. You know, I think it's so important, especially for someone that young who's been at the club for that long. You know, we all saw, I think it was Trevor Chalobah scoring on his debut.
Against Palace last
season, and what that meant to him. And it will mean the same to Broja, you know, for being here for so long. And it will do absolute wonders for his confidence, because he didn't actually play for that long, and he got a decent goal. Like, he scored a good goal, a proper striker's finish. Like you say, Aubameyang's not going to be playing every game, because he's sort of a little bit older, and you don't know what's going to happen potentially with these rumours about him and PSG. Havertz isn't always firing. We know this. So Broja's got a part to play. It's really important that he comes in and he impresses and shows what he can do, and he did that today.
No, he did as well, and just as well, how pleased we finally got to see Chukwuemeka today as well. I mean, obviously,
only for a few minutes, but
I mean,
looked promising though, didn't he?
That's important. That's important as well. I think that again goes back. That's really good management from Potter. You know, giving him his debut in a game that's kind of done and dusted, showing that, you know, if you keep working hard, there are opportunities here for you. And I mean, that'll mean the world to Chukwuemeka. I mean, it's hard to kind of gauge too much of how he's going to be at Chelsea because he didn't have an awful lot to do, didn't get the ball too much. But
yeah,
this
it
can
looked reasonably
only
promising from what I could tell. But it's interesting to see the and I hate going back between sort of like Potter and Tuchel and comparing them, but it's the point of reference we have.
It wouldn't have happened under Tuchel for me. He wouldn't.
No,
wouldn't have come on. He wouldn't have come on.
He wouldn't have come on, or someone like someone like Ziyech would have been brought on, or something like that instead.
Yeah,
in like the dying seconds of the game, and you think, and that's the difference in my view between Potter and Tuchel, is that you've got one manager who was there to win in the there and then, and that's what he was brought in to do. So, it's kind of like there's no hard feelings towards Tuchel. That's exactly what his job description was. And now we've got a manager under a different remit with a different job, whose job is also build the squad, build the cohesion in the squad, build the confidence in the squad, build the consistency in the squad. And playing players for a few minutes here and there at the end of games that are done and dusted will really give them confidence to push on. And it's something that would never have happened under Tuchel. So I'm very pleased that we've got someone like Potter who's willing to sort of has the vision. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah, I mean, it almost looks like, I don't want to say it is because like it might not be, but it almost has a bit of a feel to it that, I'm not saying there's not the pressure to win this season, but you almost feel that Potter's managing in a way where, yes, there's pressure on him, but kind of he's managing sort of for the long run. This is very much building rather than having to.
That benefits him. It really does.
And I think that does benefit him. I'm not saying, if things went wrong, he wouldn't get sacked because he probably would. But like what I'm saying is the fact that this very much has got more of a project feel around it rather than this, he needs instant success right now. It would be great to get instant success, and that's what Chelsea have had over the years, and we've been very spoiled. But this has got very much more of a project feel around it, and that he's got a bit more time to implement his ideas, to throw these kind of people, to throw these guys on at the end. Because, as you say, Tuchel wouldn't. And it's not a slight on Thomas Tuchel, but he just wouldn't have done it.
Yeah, exactly.
We wouldn't.
Just wasn't part of his job description.
Yeah. And now we're seeing someone that is giving young players a chance, and it's really good to see. I mean, Ziyech coming on as well today, which was wasn't expecting that.
No,
either,
I wasn't expected to see him either. But you know what? I think as well is part of giving people the opportunities today is also a way for Potter to be telling the squad, look, everyone's got a chance, clean slate. Nobody has to worry about like what's happened previously. Broja's taking his chance. Pulisic is taking his. Who's to say someone like Ziyech can't take his as well? So, it especially with the way that we set up, 7 changes. Potter was essentially, he looked at his squad and went, impress me. And they did.
I mean, it was the perfect use of the squad, and as I said earlier, it goes one of two ways. It either works out really well, or it ends up being a complete disaster. And obviously today, it's worked out really well for us. But
it's fair to say there was still sort of like there was still like reasonably fine margins, even though we won 3-0. And it's a bit funny to say that, but like you say, at the end of the half, if Havertz doesn't score that header, is it a different game? And then you're sort of almost saying a different thing about Potter. He's saying, is he tactically naive? Is he trying to use the depth of the squad too much? All of this, but because we've won, we don't need to talk about it.
Well, this is exactly it. All these things don't really matter anymore when you win. It's the fine margins in sport are just mad when you think about it. But we're here, and it's been a good day at the bridge. What we got here, up and away. Potter gives midfielders license to go forwards. This is a key point. We know full well that midfield is an area that does need improving, and personnel are going to come in. But I've been really impressed with how the midfield is looking a lot better with the existing personnel. I've been critical of Jorginho this season, as have a number of Chelsea fans. I thought it was very good today. And playing Conor Gallagher further up the pitch is making such a big difference.
He was really running that right flank, wasn't he? When he was a lot of energy up there, as well. He was playing almost like a right forward almost at times because he was so far up the pitch. And you know what? He had a really, really good cross on him today. Made some really good balls into the box. It didn't quite come off, I don't think. But
it's just, high energy, a lot more energy coming from the midfield. High energy, high press.
And that's what you get with Gallagher.
That's what you get with him. But I mean, what have you been? What sort of subtle differences have you noticed from Graham Potter in this midfield? Because it's essentially the same personnel, but we seem to be getting more out of it. Loftus-Cheek looks like an absolutely superb midfield player.
Loftus-Cheek looks like a man reborn. It's amazing.
Does, doesn't he?
He's for me, it's becoming like the new Azpilicueta at Loftus-Cheek. Someone who is more of like a utility player who will give you a 7 out of 10 every time, because he personally has managed to get his performances very consistent over the back end of last season and into this season. Whether he was playing at wing back, whether he was playing at DM, whether he was playing at wherever, right? And he's done really, really well. I think. For me personally, if the season ended tomorrow, I would actually give our player of the season to Loftus-Cheek.
Yeah, I think he's been outstanding.
I think he's been that good in terms of, maybe some people will say differently and think it might go to someone else on that basis, but I think he's been absolutely outstanding for us, and hopefully, he becomes more of a less of a utility man and more of a starter if he's going to continue playing this well.
Yeah, and I'm a massive fan of Conor Gallagher's as well, and it's great to see him playing further up the pitch, because under Thomas Tuchel, he's playing in that pivot that just doesn't suit him at all. It didn't work, and it's no surprise that
the thing is Gallagher's really good at pressing, but he's not very good at sitting in it's almost like Gallagher is kind of, if you put Gallagher in DM in that sort of holding midfielder role, you get Kante, but with like none of the tactical acumen and like none of the defending. And that's not dissing Gallagher. It's just not where he plays. It's not his position. So having him play further up the pitch where he can properly run and press the ball and use his energy, it's really what he's good at.
Yeah,
it really worked well today. We were terrorizing them down that right.
We were. Side. I mean, what do you think Potter's doing differently with the midfield? Because it just seems, it's like, as I said, it seems to be the same personnel, but there seems to be a lot more energy in there, and things seem to be just working a little bit better. But I can't really put my finger on why the midfield. It obviously still needs work. We desperately need to bring players in there, but the midfielders looks pretty good in the last few games. There does seem to be a bit of a upturn in fortunes there.
I think it's a slight.
I'm not sure why.
I think it's a slight change in tactics. I think the midfield is setting up in a sense as slightly differently to be able to not have as much of a focus on recycling the ball and focusing more on having sort of the passing lanes available both forwards and backwards on the pitch. So while I think under Tuchel, Jorginho played so often because the safe ball was always back to Jorginho.
Yeah.
And then from there, Jorginho's got a good enough passing range and is safe enough with the ball. He can pass it to anyone, and you can recycle the ball and go again if it's not working. Whereas under Potter, it seems more now the inclination is more to go forward and to take risks.
Yeah.
So you don't always need that safe pass because you're not going to make it anyway. So I'm wondering if that is giving the midfielders a bit more license to move forward a bit and move into the spaces. And if we get caught on the counter, then we need someone who's got the energy to be able to get back. We need people we need the midfielders on the overlap as well. When the fullbacks overlap, we need someone who needs to cut into that position as well, like on the side. So, to not allow us to get countered. I'm wondering if that's partly something that's happening as well. It happens a lot on the left-hand side when, especially when. I'm wondering if this is part of it. When Cucurella dives forward on that left-hand side, played left centre-back today. When he was diving forward, Jorginho slipped into that left centre-back role. And I'm wondering if that's just partly Potter saying, listen, I know you're going to just get absolutely roasted on the counter, Georgie. So take a step back, take a big step back. And that way, you've got other players with more pace who can come around. And also you can still help as well.
Yeah, I mean, I noticed the ball, well, today in particularly, the ball was moving a lot quicker through the midfield. Mm-hmm. In the past and under Thomas Tuchel towards the end, that the ball would come to Jorginho and all the pace would be zapped out of the move. But now we're actually moving the ball a lot quicker in midfield. There's a lot more energy in there. I don't think there's any surprise, the likes of Kovacic, Loftus-Cheek bringing energy, Mount brings energy, Gallagher brings energy. It just looks a bit more lively in there.
And it really does. And that probably translates to a greater sort of belief. And that's probably part of the new manager bounce and things like that. I think the key thing for Potter will be if we're still looking at this and seeing these results at the end of this month, because we've got we've got like 9 games in October, something like that. We've already played 2 or 3 of them. And so We've still got a lot of games to go this month, including some quite difficult games. We've got Milan away next week. We've got
Milan and Villa away next week. That's tough.
And Villa away. We've got City
Villa
in the
away
cup
on a Saturday. Yeah,
City in the cup, which City and no slouches, of course. So even in a cup game. So we'll see. Like it could certainly. It maybe things might become less easy as we go on, but I don't know. Personally, for me, I can only see the good times to keep going.
Yeah, no, for sure. I mean, let's get into some ratings now. By the way, guys, please do smash the likes on the stream and subscribe to the channel as well. Heading towards 2K, so please do smash the like button and please smash the subscribe button as well. Help me get there. Every subscriber helps. So yeah, if you're tuning in now and you're not subscribed, please click that subscribe button. We'd really appreciate it. And please do get involved in the chat as well with your player ratings and let us know your thoughts. I mean, Oli, Kepa seems to be the number one keeper now again, mate. And I never thought I'd be saying that.
I don't think any of us did. I think any of us did.
It's a good game today. Good game from him again today. I mean, made a decent save from the free kick. A couple of times where he did really well in that sweeper keeper position, sprinted out quite a long way out of his box, got the ball, distributed it well. Really, a really solid game from him again. And all right, you could argue perhaps a little bit lucky to get to find himself back in goal when Mendy was injured for Potter's first 2 games. But now in the subsequent games, Potter's stuck by him, and Kepa's has not put a foot wrong. And I think he's a goalkeeper that suits the kind of style of play that Potter wants to implement. That's what he likes from his goalkeepers. Distribution. Because fast off his line, can play as a sweeper keeper. And yeah, distribution spot on. And Kepa was good again today, and it's great to see because this guy is a good goalkeeper. We spent a world record fee on him. It's not quite worked out, but it's almost coming full circle again. And Kepa is as it stands for me, he should be number one, and Mendy should be holding the bench.
Yeah, at the moment, I will. To be honest, when you have in football, when you have 2 goalies who are of reasonably similar skill, when one is not absolutely completely and above better than the other one, like you have with a lot of other teams, where you've got 2 keepers of relatively comparable status. The only way sometimes that managers have their favorites, of course. The only time you're really going to get games if you're a backup keeper is either in a cup game or if your teammate gets injured. Your sort of competition per se gets injured, and Kepa's taken his chances completely. He works really well with his feet. He seems to have, he seems a player that's built a lot on confidence. Like he really sort of thrives off confidence, and he really, really seems to love the club. And that's something that's really important about Kepa as well, is that actually, despite all of his hard things that's going on, he's really done well. Like this season, and he's put his head down and he's worked hard. And to a certain degree, like I say, I'd hate to keep bringing him up, but it's like the difference between him and Pulisic. Kepa could have bitched and moaned and complained, but he didn't. He put his head down, he's worked hard, and now he's reaping the rewards of it.
Yeah, I mean, I think he's done. Yeah, if he was a bit taller, he'd be classy. I mean, he probably would be. But I mean, I think for me, Mendy is obviously, he's come and he's done well. He's finding himself out the side. He could almost do with taking a page out of Kepa's book and looking how Kepa conducted himself whilst he was on the bench, not in the team. And, learning from him because Kepa's been an exemplary professional. He's turned up, he's puts the training in.
Total professional. And you know what? The other thing is, this is a bit of a meme, right? People are going to say this is a meme and people are going to laugh because of the whole Kepa's a manager thing. Kepa reads the game expertly and has a really good tactical understanding of the game. Really, really strong. He is always yelling to his teammates, always talking to them. Even when the ball is out of play, he'll bring people over to him and start pointing and be like, you go over there, you go over there. This is how this needs to be set up and things like that. And that's what we need. We need to build from the back in that way. And, Kepa was not someone who I expected to be a leader in this squad, but it's really coming out of him now. And it is. I'm here for it. I really am.
I am as well, mate. I think he fully deserves his run on the side. And for me, he should be staying in now for the foreseeable, at least until Man City away in the League Cup. You might make a change there, but I mean, I think it's clear now that Kepa is Potter's number one because he's had the last 2 games where Mendy's been fit and he's been on the bench.
A few games out of the side won't hurt Mendy either.
No, it won't. It won't.
In the long term, it just won't because when both you've got 2 keepers who are playing well, the competition works really well. So it pushes both of them to work harder and do better. Kepa is finding himself in the squad at the moment. You never know what
Yeah.
will happen in the future. I don't know. He breaks up with his girlfriend again or something and has, has a crisis of confidence and he
Yeah.
struggles. I don't know, but and then you've got Mendy who will come back in again and prove his worth. So the competition's good, and Mendy's sitting on the sidelines for a little while. Allow him to get fit, allow him to have a bit of a
think it'll be
rest.
good.
It
It'll be
can't be a
good for
bad
him as
thing for him.
well.
It'll allow
It
him to
will be.
train a little bit more with his feet as well, a
Yeah.
bit more play the way Potter likes to play. Hopefully, we'll see him. I think I have a feeling we will.
But yeah, I'll give Kepa a 7 today. I thought it was solid. I think a 7 is
solid
pretty
7
fair.
out of 10. Made a good save for that free kick, which
He
was
did
very close.
for that first visual saying, do you think Potter will bring the best in Hakim Ziyech? Difficult. I don't think Ziyech. To be honest, I don't actually think Ziyech is gonna play much. To be honest, under Graham Potter, I think
I could see him playing a little bit, coming on as a super sub if we need someone to sort of create, but I don't think he'll be much of a starter unless things drastically change.
Yeah, no, I think that's pretty fair to say. I mean, I've got this up on the screen as a 4. It might have been a 3, but it doesn't really matter. We'll just rate the players anyway. Chalobah. And Chelsea still haven't lost a game in which Trevor Chalobah has started in, which
Mr. 100%.
Which is quite some stat. I mean, I thought he was good. I thought Chalobah was good today. Maybe a couple of shaky moments, but I felt in general he played really well. Good partnership with Koulibaly. Good in the tackle, comfortable on the ball.
Not bad considering they rarely plays. I know the formation changes in game based on whether we're attacking or defending, but for a large part of it, he was in a back two, as it were. With himself and Koulibaly. Considering he doesn't play that much, did a damn good job.
I thought he did a really good job today. I mean, I'm delighted to see him play as well because I said before on the channel, I thought he was hard done by at the start of the season. We had a really good season last season, couldn't find himself in the side at all. And it's funny how we talk about kind of needing luck in top level sport. Like this injury to Fofana, which is obviously not good at all for the club, and he could have done without it. But it just goes to show, like, I know you're teammates and you're not wanting your other players in your position to get injured, but it just goes to show Fofana's going to be out for a month. Suddenly, a massive opportunity for Chalobah to play some minutes.
Yeah, it's been a little bit unfair on Chalobah, I think, because he's literally not put a foot wrong. Whenever he started, we've not lost. Like that is a 100% record. That is, that's nothing to be sniffed at because he's played a lot of games now for us. So he clearly is having some kind of effect. He must be some kind of safety player, as it were. So, I think he's been a bit unlucky that, we had some centre backs who left in the summer, Christensen and Rudiger. And we needed to bring in replacements, and he's found himself sort of like behind them because they're the new players who've come in. So it was a bit unlucky to a certain degree, but like you say, luck kind of turned in a way when Fofana got injured because that allows him to play more. And then you could argue there's more luck even involved because Fofana's injury wasn't as bad as everyone thought it was. Instead of an MCL or an ACL, he's only going to be out for 4 to 6 weeks, and it's just a little sprain.
Yeah, exactly. I mean, I thought Chalobah was good today. I mean, I'd probably go probably a 7 as well. Maybe 7. Maybe 7.5. I thought it was decent.
Really solid.
Really, really solid and great to see. And it was also great to see is that Koulibaly is now kind of getting a bit of a run in the side. We obviously didn't see him in Potter's first couple of games. We didn't see him against Salzburg or Palace. He came in for Milan, and then he's obviously, I think he'll probably be a bit of a mainstay in the side now. I mean, it takes time to adapt to the league. From Serie A, very different. And, it has taken Koulibaly a little bit of time as expected, but I think he's now starting to show his class. And I thought today was a really solid performance from him.
He played a really good sort of no-nonsense defender role today. Every time the ball was in the box, he just hoofed it out. It was quite inspiring to see it, actually, because, it was almost like Potter knows how, knows to tell players. He's sort of telling players when to play out from the back and when not to. And it seems Koulibaly, either through his own instinct or Potter's instructions, has that in him, which is good to know.
Yeah, no, it certainly is. I mean, I think he's going to be a really important player for Chelsea this season. You're going to count as experience, particularly with Thiago Silva not getting any younger, he's going to have to play quite a lot. I mean, I don't think there was an awful lot in it between Koulibaly and Chalobah today. I thought they were both pretty level.
I'll give him either the same or maybe a 7, just because I thought Chalobah impressed. But
I'll go. I think the same. I think the same is fair. Moving on to someone who has said we've been critical of in the recent past, just because his age is catching up with him, his legs are going a little bit, and most Chelsea plans have not really wanted Azpilicueta anywhere near the team sheet. And I was worried when I saw Azpilicueta on the team sheet today. I can't lie, I've got to be honest. He actually rolled back the years. He had a really, really good performance today.
He didn't
actually do anything wrong. Dave was good today, which
I
don't know why we should sound surprised, but it is because he's not played that well recently. When he has played,
he's managed to
really good today.
He's managed to get his aching bones up and down the pitch, his aching elderly bones up and down the pitch, which is funny to say when you got Thiago Silva in the squad, who's like 4 times older, but. Aspi did a really good job today. Real sort of solid captain's performance. Rolled back the years, and he's missed a 7 out of 10, 7.5 out of 10. He's what you always got. And in recently, his years have been showing a little bit because he's not got quite the same physical prowess that he used to. He can't bomb on and get back as easily as he used to. But it seems that for whatever reason today, that wasn't much of a problem. Maybe it was because we had Gallagher at times was covering on that side, Kovacic was covering on that side at times. So maybe Pulisic or Mount was helping him. I don't know, but it seemed I thought he had an excellent game today. Didn't put a foot wrong.
I mean, could maybe be an 8 for Aspi.
I'd give him an 8.
I think an 8's fair, and I think, do you know what? Whilst he's not first choice, and he'll be fully aware of that, I think he still does have a really important role to play. Perhaps not necessarily on the pitch. Well, on the pitch, of course, when he gets called upon, but very much off the pitch. The guy knows the club inside out. He's got good leadership qualities, and he'll be invaluable to the youngsters, to the academy lads, and to new signings.
And so him playing every now and then will actually help keep him on Potter's side as well.
Yeah, for sure. I mean, moving to the other side, I thought Cucurella had a really good game today. Again, back in after missing the Milan game. Had a throat issue. I think he's going to be a really good signing for us. Already a fan favourite. It's got a great song. I thought he was solid today and a really good signing. And it'll be interesting to see how, because Potter obviously first brought Cucurella over to the Premier League. So it'll be interesting to see how, they're reunited again, how Cucurella pushes on. But I thought he was really good today. I don't really think he did anything wrong either. He's a bit of a no-nonsense defender. He's all action. He gets forward well. Really good. I mean, Texas Blue saying here that Cucurella could be the new Aspi. who knows? But I mean, were you impressed with him today? I've been really impressed with Cucurella, not just today, but just in his overall Chelsea career.
Yeah, he was excellent today. I found it a couple times, and people might crucify me for saying this. Sometimes his first touch is a little bit heavy, but other than that, he's been excellent. He moves the ball with such pace. And he has the energy to really get up the pitch, especially when he's sort of playing that kind of hybrid left centre-back marauding role that Rudiger used to do. He's almost tailor-made for it. And so I think that probably helps. Would he necessarily be as good if he was just playing a left wing back or just playing the left centre back? I don't know. Or if he doesn't necessarily have Potter coaching him, I'm not sure.
Yeah.
But he played really well today. He's playing with a lot of confidence. Like that nutmeg we saw from him as well. That was absolutely filth. I don't know if you've seen the replay of it.
It was tasty. I mean, and as Hakeem saying, he's versatile. He can play left centre back, left wing back. So signing one player into the squad, but it can fill multiple positions. It's a fantastic signing.
And that's what Potter likes. That sort of utility player is the same reason we've seen Loftus-Cheek play, because he's that kind of utility player. And really good stuff.
To think that, people were saying that we overpaid for him. I think £55 million. All right, yes, it's a phenomenal amount of money, but in this day and age in the football market, for a top player and at his age as well, I think we had a right steal there. I know it's early days still, but this is looking like a very, very good signing. Cucurella, would you say probably not quite as good as Aspi? Are we going 7.5?
I'll give him 7.5. Same as the other defenders. Didn't do anything wrong today.
No.
7, you know what? Give him a 7 and then add the half for that nutmeg.
Add the half for the nutmeg. The Megs deserves one. Guys, as Texas Blue saying, hit the likes, people. Get those likes up and subscribe to the channel as well.
Subscribe to Charlie.
Helps. Subscribe to the channel, guys.
Charlie's got some of the absolute best quality, production quality on YouTube at the moment. It's criminal he doesn't have 1,000 subscribers yet. If you're not subscribed to Charlie right now, click the button. Do it.
We're heading to that 2K mark. We're not far away now, so hit the likes, people, and subscribe to the channel. Jorginho today, mate. Much better game from him, I felt. And I think perhaps maybe, as you touched on earlier, mate, perhaps he's being given slightly different instructions. He didn't appear to be passing it back as much as he normally does. Didn't seem to be recycling possession as much, which is a good thing. He looked to be moving the ball forward more rather than just taking the simple pass back. This was a much better game from him. He's had a bit of an up and down season, but this was a good game today. I felt he was solid.
Yeah, I thought he was solid. Maybe not quite as good as some of the other players we've said so far. But I thought, solid game from him. Like I said, for me, a good Jorginho game is where he doesn't make any mistakes. Yeah. Like if he's like gets caught on the counter or if he gets muscled off the ball in transition and it leads to a goal or something, that's usually where I have issues with Jorginho, because he doesn't necessarily have the physicality at midfield to go up against some of the more physical presences in the game. Like that Mateus Nunes today. He's not much of a physical presence, but he was he played really, really well today. He gave Jorginho a lot of trouble at times, but we managed to keep him quiet.
Yeah, but I mean, I think maybe, I don't know, probably maybe a 6.5. I know that sounds a little bit harsh, but
no, I think 6.5 is fine.
6.5 is good for Jorginho.
If 5 is average,
yeah, he was above average. I give him a 6.5. Moving on to Loftus-Cheek, we sung his praises a little bit earlier. I thought this was another really good game from him. And Ruben seems to be really establishing himself in this Chelsea side now. I mean, not so long ago, I remember myself and having conversations with other fans where kind of weren't sure if Ruben really had a future at Chelsea. He had that loan spell at Fulham where he couldn't start every week for a side that got relegated. And you're thinking, well, where is he going to fit in? He had opportunities on the Tuchel, which he took, and he did well. He's also almost become the squad utility man. And I think now, if he can continue these performances, I don't think it's outrageous to say that he could be an outside shout to force his way into the World Cup squad.
You know what? I actually would agree with you there. Because he is continuing to prove himself game after game after game without making any mistakes, without causing any issues. He was just a presence today, and he did a really, really good job. And I've said in the past that Loftus-Cheek at times is painfully mediocre. That was the exact phrase I've used in the past, painfully mediocre. And I don't know under what situation he was playing at the time, but whatever it was, it seems to have sorted itself out, because, I'll admit I was wrong. He's not painfully mediocre. He's an excellent player. If he's got the right players around him, if he's got the right mentality, he seems to have got his body right now. He's not getting injured anywhere near as much as he used to. He seems to have turned it around, and I'm very pleased for him.
Yeah, I'm delighted for him as well. And as I say, I think, for England, he went to the last World Cup in Russia. For me, there's no reason, if he carries on like this, why he can't force his way in. I mean, I can't
imagine he'd necessarily play, but
no,
at least
but
to go.
I think he could make the squad. But again, it could be beneficial for him to just have a month off, stay at the training ground, work with Potter. But I think for me, I'd be taking him in the squad over Jordan Henderson. That's for sure.
On current form, you'd say so.
And I'd be taking him over a Calvin Phillips. Calvin Phillips hasn't barely played for City. He's now injured.
He's been injured quite a lot.
Yeah, but he wasn't playing anyway.
No, that's true. It's a shame. It's almost like a vanity pick from City. It wasn't the right choice.
No, it wasn't. And I honestly think Loftus-Cheek has got an outside chance. But I mean, from a Chelsea perspective, it's probably better that he doesn't go, just so he can kind of spend that time on a pitch. But I think an 8's fair for Ruben today. I thought he was really good. And moving on to Conor Gallagher, this was for me his best game in a Chelsea shirt. I know he scored the great winner at Crystal Palace last weekend, but today was his best performance in the Chelsea shirt. And I just want to say that to those people that were writing him off after Leeds away, then writing him off after Leicester because he got sent off, saying he's not good enough for Chelsea. This guy is good enough for Chelsea. Just play him in the right areas of the pitch, and he's shown that he can do the business. I know it's early days in his Chelsea career still, but he's shown on loan at Crystal Palace that he's got the minerals. He can do it. And John, I thought he was superb today. Energy, gets around the pitch, and playing him higher up the pitch makes such a big difference. And I really do think, we've got a special player here and someone that's going to play a big part this season. I think, do you know what? As much as we love Thomas Tuchel, Graham Potter coming in is so good for Conor Gallagher. It's one of the best things that could have happened for him.
Abandoning the sort of more traditional double pivot that we were using under Tuchel because he didn't trust a lot of our players defensively, which I think is fair at the time. It seems that, Potter coming in and slightly just changing things up a bit has just absolutely done wonders for Gallagher. It really has, and him scoring that screamer last week for his first Chelsea goal against Palace, that will have given him so much confidence, and that will have fueled this performance today. It just goes to show how little things can really push on in if he doesn't score that goal, does he play as well today? Well, maybe not, and then, then you're still having this conversation about him, whether he's good enough or not 6-8 months down the line, which of course is going to affect him. Whereas now he's almost fully established himself as good enough, from that goal and from that performance today. We now know the level he can play at, so we want to see it. Now we want to see the consistency.
And I would agree with you. I'd probably say he was the man of the match today. I thought he really was a standout. I mean, close between kind of him and maybe Mason Mount as well, Loftus-Cheek. But I think Gallagher, do you think the 8.5, or I mean, are we pushing a 9 here maybe? I thought he was good today.
He was my man of the match. I would have given him a 9.
Let's give him the 9. We're going to give him the 9.
Also, thank you in the chat. Someone telling me that I sound like Henry Winter. Lovely.
I don't really know what Henry Winter sounds like, to be perfectly honest. We'll ask George as well, mate. Are you going to revise your opinions on Gallagher? Because I remember we had a conversation that you said you were convinced that Conor Gallagher definitely not good enough for Chelsea. I know it's early days still, but I think that opinion needs slightly revising because it's clear that,
I think it's just a case of he was just put in the wrong spot.
He's not playing.
You've put an attacking midfielder in DM and asked him to do all the sort of the DM work, and or in the double pivot per se, and it just wasn't his position. In the same way that playing someone like Malang Sarr at left back was never going to be a good idea. Did all right, did okay. It's not his position.
No, it's not his position. I thought it was superb today. I am looking forward to seeing a lot more from him. Whether he starts in the San Siro on Tuesday night, I suspect probably not. But
I would say probably not. Yeah,
but he's not done his chances any harm, and he's going to have a big role to play this season. Let's move into the front.
Could easily come on if we need some energy.
Yeah, exactly. Let's move into the front three to round this out, then, mate. Christian Pulisic, we touched on him earlier, getting a run on the side today, which I felt he deserved. Obviously, he's gonna get minutes through rotation. He's not a guaranteed starter, but all right, yeah, he was frustrating a bit in the first half. Missed a couple of opportunities, taking too long on the ball on certain occasions, but took his goal well. I think this was a good all-round performance from him, and we just need to see a bit more from him. But he does need to take his opportunities when he gets them, and I don't really know when the next one's going to be, because I think he'll find himself on the bench against Milan as well. But this was half decent from Pulisic today, a lot better than what we've seen from him from his most recent performances.
I would almost be tempted to give him an 8 on the basis that it's the best performance I've seen from him in quite a while. Yeah, on the basis that actually, relative to the way that he has been playing over the last 6 months or so, that was much better, much better. He was more direct. He was creating better. Obviously, got his goal. Which is really important as well. I know how we talk about all the time how it's a results-based business, but if the ball doesn't go in the onion bag, then he's not going to get as good a rating,
Yeah.
So I would give him an 8 personally.
I think it was a good performance today. I mean, I probably wouldn't go the 8, but I'll probably go 7. So maybe we'll just go in the middle at 7.5.
I think that's fair.
I think he was good today. And who knows when he's going to get his next opportunity. But Christian Pulisic playing well is only going to be of benefit to Chelsea. So I mean, at the end of the day, whether you like him or not, and it goes for all players, whether you're the biggest fan of them or not, it's in everyone's benefit as a Chelsea fan for Chelsea players to be playing well and for wanting them to play well. So fair play to Christian Pulisic today. He's coming for criticism. I've criticised him a lot. I'm sure you have, and a lot of fans have. But credit where credit's due today. He was decent today. So it's fair play to him. Another player, Mason Mount, who, let's be perfectly honest, not had a good season up until realistically this week, essentially. Hadn't really done anything in any of the games, and I know that there's more to football than just goals and assists. Jack Grealish, a classic case in hand, where all right, his numbers aren't that great, but he's playing really well for Manchester City at the moment. I think with Mason Mount, it's important to just look beyond the numbers. I know the numbers are important, and when you get 30 goal contributions through assists and goals last season, you're back-to-back Chelsea Player of the Year. People are going to be questioning your numbers when they're not up to scratch, and it's been a poor start to the season by his standards. But these last 2 games, he's looked back to his best. Playing slightly deeper is really helps him out, and I thought it was good against Milan. this was upper level again today. 2 open play assists, the second time he's done that in his Chelsea career. And this was special. It was really good today from Mount. Pressing hard at the pitch, good energy, winning the ball in key areas, playing good passes in the final third, good decision making. This is the Mount that we know.
Yeah, this is the absolute, like, this is Mount, exactly classic Mount, as it were. I would like to call it. Certainly not the Mount that we've seen for the majority of this season. Had a really, really good game today. Bear in mind, in Milan, he probably should have had the goal if it wasn't rolled out.
Oh, of course,
ruled off for
offside.
anything
Yeah,
like that.
great finish there as well.
It seems that his confidence is back, which is really, really important, because when Mount plays well, the team plays well, and that's what you can see from the game against Milan and today. 2 comfortable 3-0 victories when Mount is on form, and you just love to see it. I would personally, if I was to give him a rating today, I would say 8.5.
Yeah, I think that's fair as well. I really do think that's fair. Let's go 8.5 for Mason Mount, and he's playing himself into form really at such a crucial stage in the season coming up now before the World Cup. Fixtures coming thick and fast, but it's going to be interesting to see how Potter manages these key players. Obviously, Reece James getting a rest today. We'd expect Mount at some point to be on the bench. He started a lot of games, so it'll be interesting to see how Potter manages them. And George making a good point here that you can't believe that all 3 of our so-called number 9s have scored in a week. Havertz, Broja, and Aubameyang. So I can't remember the last time.
Maybe the world really is ending. We'll see.
Maybe it is. But let's move on to Kai Havertz to round this thing out, then, mate. Obviously got the goal today. Frustrating performance. I personally felt. I didn't think he was terrible today by any stretch, but again, despite the goal, and I know it sounds stupid to say despite the goal, because the goal's really important. So if you score a goal, it's not really too fussed about what else you do, providing the team wins. But I don't think the all-round performance was that great from Kai today. I think there's still quite a lot of deficiencies in his game and quite a lot of things that he does need to improve on, because again, for me, he just looks a bit clumsy on the ball. He's not really making too many things happen.
I thought he had a good game against Milan when he came on. Like when he was on the pitch, I thought he was good. But yeah, I would say the same today. I think today he's not had his best game, but there's this funny thing about Havertz, and there's this intangible quality he has that makes him a player for big moments. Drogba had the same one, big, rather than necessarily a big game player, which Drogba was anyway, but a player for big moments. And right on the stroke of half time, looping header to take us 1-0 up, take the pressure off a little bit of the whole squad and allow the team to actually, kick on and do even better. That will have done wonders for the team today. It really will. So many times we've seen this team struggle to perform in the offensive phase. And getting a goal like that, especially right before half-time, is really crucial. And because of that, I'd probably be more inclined. I'm a little bit kinder to Havertz than most, I think. So I'd be more inclined to give him a slightly better rating than maybe you would.
I was probably thinking I was thinking a 6 maybe today.
I'd give him like a 6.5. Yeah, personally for me. But
yeah,
you know what? In the same, like I said, he's got that sort of intangible quality for big moments, and it's something you can't really. It's not something you can really measure and put in a rating at the end of a game.
No,
and you kind of just have to see it happen.
I think I'd give him the 6. Yeah, look, I don't think he was the worst player on the. Obviously, in the ratings, he's probably come out the lowest. But I don't think he was terrible today. Just briefly,
I think he probably was on balance the worst of us today.
Yeah, I think that's fair to say. But just on Havertz briefly before we round out, mate. How do you see his role developing under Potter, and how do you think he could develop under Graham Potter? Because it's clear for me to say that bought him in for big money. It's his 3rd season now, and he's not really kicked on. This is a really, really important season for him, because if it's much of the same from the previous 2 seasons, there's a big decision, I feel, to be made in the summer. I know that's a way away now, but this season is crucial for Havertz's Chelsea career.
It certainly is, to a certain degree. I think Aubameyang coming in will actually really help.
Yeah.
You could say on one hand, well, Aubameyang's going to come in, score a bunch of goals, and then what happens? Because then he gets picked over Havertz. But at the same time, I think actually having someone take some of that slight goal scoring necessity out from Havertz's game, which at the moment seems to be, in my view, is the only thing that he really lacks, is that sort of killer finish. So if you make his responsibilities for scoring goals slightly less by having someone who can reliably score quite a lot of goals, like Aubameyang, come in, I think will allow us to see the best of Havertz over time.
Yeah,
At the same time, you
I,
could argue someone like Broja might be causing a bit of pressure from below, as the same way, in the
yeah,
same way.
exactly. And I think
So
perhaps as
could go
well,
either way.
as you say, the fact that there's now competition for places, that's the biggest thing for me, is that towards the end of Thomas Tuchel's reign, it seemed that like certain players were almost untouchable status, even though they were performing shit week in,
And
week
some
out.
couldn't get a look in.
And some couldn't even get a look in. I think now it's clear to see that I think Potter's got the balls to at the moment to say that if someone's not playing well, they're going to be benched, and there will be opportunities for other, for other players to come in. And I think that extra competition with Aubameyang coming in, an experienced pro, great proven record, and someone young and up and coming, chomping at the bit in Amanda Broja, Havertz knows that if he doesn't play well or doesn't perform, then he's not going to play, and
It's
that's not always been the case.
It's interesting to say, though, about what necessarily would require him to be performing, because we said the same about Mount. It's not all about necessarily the goals and assists.
But if you're playing as a number 9, though, for Chelsea, I'm not saying he's a number 9, but when he plays, he does play as a 9 pretty much. The goals are pretty important.
Yeah, I would say so. But like I said, like with bringing in someone like Aubameyang, it allows that some of that pressure to be taken off of him. It really
Yeah.
allows for, I don't know. It personally for me, I think he'll kick on this season, and I think he'll actually stay at Chelsea, because I think the general idea would be to see how he works with Nkunku when Nkunku comes in.
Yeah, I
Because
mean, to be honest,
because I think they would operate really well off of each other.
Yeah, I mean, even if Rafael Leao came in as well alongside Nkunku, there's a lot of decisions to be made there. I mean, probably Pulisic and Ziyech might leave. Obviously, it's a conversation for another time. But I mean, there are options there, and I don't think Chelsea will want to cut ties with Kai Havertz, but like for sure, there's going to have to be an improvement, and hopefully, it comes this season. Hopefully, he can develop into the player that we paid all this money for, because there is ability there, but all too often, we're just not seeing it on a consistent enough basis. But hopefully, this season
maybe he'll take
different.
a Kepa arc, like where the same with Kepa, where Kepa seems to have sort of come back into form now. I think they were bought for about the same amount, roughly.
Yeah, I mean, I've not given up on Kai Havertz, but I'm very much at the case where I'm like,
you want to see more.
You want to see more because there has to be more because we're playing for Chelsea Football Club, and 2, there is more there. You saw him again. You saw him for Germany the other night against England at Wembley. Couple of goals, looked really good. At Chelsea, he never takes that first shot on. So I'm not really sure where we go with Kai Havertz, but I think he will have a part to play this season. But it is a really, really important season for his Chelsea career, with Nkunku coming in, with possibly Leao coming in as well. There could be less minutes around for Kai Havertz, and he may well consider his future at the end of the season. But I mean, all in all, it's been a fantastic week for Chelsea. Great performance today. Great performance against Milan. Obviously, back to the San Siro on Tuesday night. And we got another big week. San Siro Tuesday, Villa Park Saturday. It's a big week. The game's coming thick and fast. Seems like a good point to round out. Oli, thank you so much for your time, mate. Great insight as always. Always a pleasure. Guys, make sure you follow Oli on Twitter. I've linked both his accounts in the description. There's a really good tweet on your other account, mate, about the Qatar World Cup. So if you're interested in a bit more of the details behind that, please do go and check that out. I've linked both accounts in the description, so give him a follow on both accounts. Some really good Chelsea content on there, so please do follow him. Guys, from myself, thanks for tuning in today. Thanks for getting involved in the chat. On your way out, if you haven't done so already, smash those likes on the stream and subscribe to the channel as well. We are heading towards a 2K mark, as I've said already, but every subscriber helps. So on your way out, if you're not subscribed, please do hit that subscribe button and please do smash those likes. And I will be back on Monday night with a preview to the AC Milan game in the San Siro, guys. So until then, take care, up the Chelsea, and enjoy the rest of your weekend, guys.